Hi guys, so I'm walking through our basement. We have an unfinished basement and I'm gonna show you guys where our grow room is. We don't have a greenhouse yet, so it's kind of dark. I'm about to walk in a dark area, but yeah, I'll show you guys how we do it. It's really simple. You only need a few supplies and you don't need a greenhouse to do your seeds. So this is basically our little grow room area, part of our unfinished basement here. And we use these blue tarps. I think we bought 3 of them. 3 of them. Just to keep like the heat enclosed in there and everything. And to keep the area warm. So when you go in here, it does feel warmer than when you step out. So we just have this little area where you step in. And my husband built these tables and we put, so the floors to our basement are concrete. And we put these cardboard boxes here to help retain the heat because, you know, concrete can really stay cold. And then we did the same thing with the walls. And we put some plastic over the windows as well. It's starting to get a little warm here. It's still February though. We're in the Kansas City area, so it's still we're still gonna have cold snaps and stuff like that. So just wanted to keep this area as warm as possible. So he made these tables out of wood. You can obviously buy whatever shelves. They have shelves at Home Depot. You can do whatever. He just decided to make these tables. He loves woodworking, so it was just kind of like fun for him. And then we have 2 more here, and all of these will be filled with seed trays when we have everything planted. So you're gonna need shop lights. I think the most expensive things for us were obviously to build the tables and the lights. The lights were pretty pricey as well. I keep forgetting so we have these, I don't think they're specifically called grow lights. When they're marketed as grow lights, they're so expensive. But we got these from Home Depot. Let's see if I can show you the model there. Might be easier view. When I get some, they've been working well for us. And we use these little chains from Home Depot as well to hang it, and he used wood as well. I'm trying to see, it's late right now, but hopefully you guys can get the gist of it. You can see it better there. And these are all hung from these steel beams that we have. So as you can see, it's kind of like a makeshift grow room. You can really do so many things and you can get creative. There's our little heater down there. We put it on the floor because then heat rises, so it keeps our seedlings warm, and we will add another heater once we plant more. But yeah, you can really make any place in your house a grow area. And obviously not everybody's gonna be growing as intense as we are. We have 5 acres, so we're gonna be growing quite a bit, flowers and veggies. So I'll show you here. And he drilled, let's see, there we go. That kind of shows how he did it. So we have started Brussels sprouts and they're doing very well. And over here in the middle here we have celery, which hasn't sprouted yet. It takes a while to germinate. And kale. Kale's doing really well as well. And then right here we have, this is why you label everything because I forget. This is asparagus. So here we have asparagus that has not sprouted. Again, that takes long to germinate. And here we have my Iceland poppies, which if you can see the little green over there, it's starting to sprout. So I did have a tray over these, but now that they've sprouted, I took the humidity tray off. But, oh, you can see that little one right there. They're doing so well. And then these are my Formosa lilies. These have not sprouted yet, which is why I have the tray on them. And I bottom water these as well as my Iceland poppies just because the seeds are so tiny. It's literally like dust. So yeah, none of these have sprouted yet. And I just watered them a little while ago. And then over here, this whole tray is asparagus as well, which has not sprouted either. So we are waiting on those. And again, nothing fancy. You can see our lights here, all like the cords all wrapped up on here to keep them out of the way. So not really a big setup, but the nice thing is once you spend the money on the lights, you'll have them. So your first initial, you know, investment of lights, and again, we bought a ton, which is why it's probably expensive for us because, and we still need to buy more for those. But if you're only gonna grow a few things, maybe a tray or two, then this is super inexpensive. And it's so nice to start from seed because it is so cheap as well. So there's some tips that I wanted to give. Make sure that you use, the soil that you use is specifically for seed starting. You don't just wanna use potting soil. And look how pretty they are. Oh, I love them. So yeah, that's one thing that you definitely want to do is just make sure that you're using seed starting mix. You want to make sure that the soil is damp once you fill up these trays. Other thing I made sure of is, especially if the seeds are super tiny, you do just a little bit of a dusting of soil. You don't want to put too much because you don't want to drown out the seeds. And you also don't want to pack in the soil either. You just want to do it enough to where I kind of like tap it like this to make sure that all the soil is in each pod when I start my seeds. We also have this little temperature gauge. It just tells us, obviously, the humidity is very low right now. It's just we have very dry air. And our temperature, we keep it between 68 and 70. Usually it's a 70 throughout the day, but right now it's nighttime. It's cooler out, so right now it's at 68. And this little heater that we have is from Amazon, and it's amazing. It was only $30, and it heats so well. We've actually used it to heat our room one time in the whole polar vortex situation we had here, and our HVAC could not keep up, and we used this heater, which did an amazing job. So we put it down here, that heat rises, and it keeps, I feel it already here, really warm up under here. So it keeps the seed trays warm. Another thing you can do is buy heating mats for your trays. We didn't do that just because we were going to do the heaters and we're growing a ton, so I didn't want to be buying a ton of heat mats. But if you're not growing that much, then heat mats are definitely a good way to go. So something I wanted to say too, look, first of all, look at all these boxes back there. We have to get rid of all that in a huge bonfire one day. But anyways, you don't have to have expensive or anything crazy. Seed trays are pretty cheap anyways, especially the plastic ones. But if you don't have that on hand or you don't want to spend the money on it, you can just use egg cartons. They work really well. A lot of people use them. We actually kept some too to use in case we ran out of the seed trays that we bought. But you can definitely use things like this. I've seen people use solo cups. I've seen people use milk jugs. So you can definitely get creative with your seed starting. Okay guys, so we are in our little makeshift grow room and I am going to start some flowers today. So we're gonna do black-eyed Susan and oregano. These two are perennials and this one is an annual. So the one thing I do is obviously I have the start date written on there, March 3rd, and I'm just starting them a few days early because we're actually gonna be busy on March 3rd. And then I look and I see how many seeds and I have everything written down on how many I want to plant. So you're gonna need seed trays. These are the 72 cell. And then I'm actually not gonna cover the oregano or the yarrow because it says not to on the instructions, but I am going to cover the black-eyed Susans for some humidity. This is where I keep all my seeds, and I have this just to mix the soil with some water. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the let's do the black-eyed Susan. So there are 50 seeds in here, and I'm just gonna do one per cell since there's only 50 seeds. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to dampen my soil and make sure it's seed starting mix. We have this one from Burpee. I'm holding it kind of awkward because there's a hole at the bottom. So it's just this Burpee natural and organic seed starting mix. And you just want to make sure because this has all the nutrients and everything it needs for the seeds to germinate well. So you don't just want to use regular potting soil. So I'm going to dampen that and then we're going to fill our seed trays. I am not going to stuff the dirt in. I'm just going to put it over and then kind of slam it on the table to make sure that each pot is covered with the soil. Yes, let's go ahead and start doing that and then we will work on our labels for the plants. Now this is my seed packet right here, Black-Eyed Susans. And the instructions say to start indoors in trays 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost and transplant out after all danger of frost has passed. And these need full sun when they're outside. Yeah, we have about 50 seeds and they're an annual, so let's go ahead and see how big these seeds are. I have tweezers as well, or toothpicks if the seeds are super tiny and they're hard to grab. If they're usually in these envelopes, that means they're pretty tiny. So let's see. Yeah, these are pretty small, so we're probably gonna use a tweezer for these. And the first thing, before we even get these seeds, is we're going to take our little stick, and these seeds are very small, so we're not gonna dig a super deep hole, just small enough, and then you're just gonna lightly cover it with soil after it's planted. These are how small these seeds are. I've planted smaller. The Iceland poppies were really small, like dust, so these should be pretty easy. And that's it. That's super simple. I'm gonna go ahead and complete this whole thing. I'll bore you to death if I just sit here and do all of them. That's pretty much how it is. And then once I plant all these, I will show you what I do to water them. And if they need a cover, I'll show you how I put the cover on and put them under the grow lights. Okay, so I got everything in the trays, the whole Black-Eyed Susan tray filled, and what we're gonna do is bottom water now. So this is so you don't wash out the seeds away, especially because they're so little. So you don't wanna put like a heavy spray watering can on top. So I'm just gonna fill this up a bit, have the plants soak water, and then under the grow lights, cover them, and yeah, let's go ahead. Here is my Black-Eyed Susans tray, and I didn't label the end because these are all Black-Eyed Susans, so I just labeled right here. Now I'm gonna set them in my tray with water, let them soak up some water for a bit, and then I will actually drain the water because I don't want them sucking up so much water where they drown out. And then I'll put the cover on it and we'll put it under the grow lights. So now they are here, soaking up some of the water. I'm gonna let it sit there for a bit, and then I will remove it from there, put it in a dry tray, and put the slit over it. Okay, so as you can see, they have soaked up the water pretty well, and now I'm gonna move it onto this dry tray. Right, so here it is under the grow light. I think it's low enough. I might lower it a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there, and I check them every single day to see if they need water, and hopefully we will get some sprouts from these soon. All right, and that's it, guys. I hope this video was helpful. This is just to show you that you don't need a fancy setup. You don't need a greenhouse. You can grow things right in your basement. We have 5 acres, so if you don't have 5 acres, you might not grow as much as this, or maybe you have more acreage and you're growing a ton. But either way, you don't have to have acreage to grow something in your backyard to feed your family. So yeah, I hope this gives you some inspiration to show you that you don't need crazy expensive materials or a crazy expensive area or even land to grow food, vegetables, fruit, flowers, anything. I'm not an expert again, so if you have any awesome tips too, leave them down below. I'd love to read them. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.